Hey everyone, my name is Dave Mate from circleofdrink.com, and I just wanted to share some of this deep, rich history of yerba mate tea. Very powerful herb from South America, something that I hold very dear to my heart. For the past 6 years, I've been acquainted with yerba mate, drinking it on a daily basis since I visited Argentina back in 2009. I was enrolled in a language school. I learned the language and I ended up living there for 3 years. Having come to study this plant, yerba mate, started off just reviewing different brands of mate. I was fascinated with the whole process of preparing mate, the whole culture. A couple years after that, I ended up writing a book about it called Mateology. That's on Amazon.com. You could check it out. And just help to establish this circle of drink yerba mate community and provider of yerba mate products, some high caliber yerba mate gourds, bombillas, and we also blend our own mate. So Circle of Drink is a part of this mate movement. Proud to be a part of it, and proud to have a lot of great materos. A matero is a yerba mate enthusiast, a yerba mate aficionado, a yerba mate proponent, supporter, someone who looks at yerba mate more than just a single herb or a single tea, a single plant, but kind of a way to live. Just be a good person. All right, guys, so today we are going to talk about the history from the 1500s to 2015. And I'm going to start off by just giving a little brief introduction on yerba mate. And from that point, we will go on to each century. I'll give a summation of the most critical things that occurred. And just to give you an idea of what really helped shape mate during those centuries, what really pushed it forward or pulled it back, or whatever it was that had a significant impact on mate during those periods of 100 years, and 100 years, and 100 years. We'll work our way up to 2015. All right, guys, so as I pour myself a nice cup of, well, I shouldn't say cup, it's actually a gourd of yerba mate tea, we'll begin in the beginning. Commonly thought of as the drink of friendship, mate's beginnings are strongly steeped in tales of companionship. To share mate with someone is an agreement to be friends. Materos, yerba mate enthusiasts, proudly declare mate to be more than a drink. The Guarani people have revered and respected the plant and epitomized it in the historical story Tupa's Present, described in the book The Mate. Here it goes. Once upon a time, a tired and hungry stranger reached the house of an old man who lived with his daughter in the Guarani jungle. Although the old man was very poor, he gave the stranger shelter and shared with him his scanty meal. The stranger, who turned out to be Tupa, the good god of the Guarani Indians, left the tree of yerba mate as a present. Preserving mate as an important part of their culture, the Guarani Indians continue to pray to Kara Yara, the Lord of Yerba Mate. So you see how deeply rooted this plant has been in the Guarani history, in the Guarani culture. Yerba mate, scientifically known as Ilex paraguariensis, is a holly tree within the Aquifoliaceae family. It's native to a diverse region spanning over 200,000 square miles across Argentina, Brazil, Paraguay, and select parts of Uruguay. Comfortable in a wide range of environments, from dense forest to high mountain regions, the subtropical plant appreciates generous amounts of humidity, rain, and sun. Capable of growing upwards of 30 feet in the wild, the plant is kept as a short shrub for commercial production. After a few years of maturing, the plant is ready for harvesting twice a year and enjoyed for the uplifting and soothing effects mate drinkers have come to appreciate. Commercial cultivation has been limited to the southern cone, which I refer to as Argentina, Uruguay, Paraguay, and southern Brazil, where it is hailed as the national drink. Argentina took it a step further by writing mate into history and declaring it as a national infusion. Mate doesn't just grow in these regions, it's an extension of their identity. In 2011, Argentina produced some 245,000 tons for the local market, where it is estimated that 13 pounds of mate is consumed yearly by the average drinker. But in Uruguay, home to the most mate drinkers in the world, per capita, nearly 3 million people, as if it were water, sip this ancient herb all day long, no matter at work or at home. Uruguayans are said to have 2 arms and a thermos as a third. It's estimated that a Uruguayan drinks over 19 pounds of yerba mate each year. In Brazil, yerba mate culture is the strongest in the states of Rio Grande do Sul, Paraná, and Santa Catarina. Paraguay, known for its cold version of mate called tereré, celebrates National Tereré Day each year, where iced yerba mate with some additional local herbs is consumed daily. Not as common, it's also consumed in Bolivia and Chile. The United States, Canada, South Africa, Syria, United Arab Emirates, Korea, Lebanon, France, and Spain are also establishing yerba mate drinkers of their own, elevating this common tea of South America to a strong contender alongside gourmet coffee and tea. Long before the 1500s, it's safe to assume that mate was being enjoyed and being consumed for thousands of years, long before the Spanish came to colonize the territories of what is now known as Paraguay, Argentina, Uruguay, and Brazil. The Guarani Tribe of Paraná from northern Argentina and the Tupi People from southern Brazil, these civilizations were the progenitors of yerba mate. They held this plant up to a high esteem. They prayed to various gods of yerba mate, and they placed yerba mate at the cornerstone of their civilizations. Clay pots were some of the first yerba mate gourds, and straws made from grasses and hollowed out twigs were the first yerba mate bombillas. The bombillas are sometimes referred to as bombillas, depending on your dialect and what country you're from. These are the common day metal straws with a filter on the end used to drink mate the traditional way. During a battle between land and essentially enslaving the Guarani tribes, in 1592, the governor of Paraguay finds ca'a, which translates as yerba mate, in one of the knapsacks of the Guarani. It was confiscated from the Guarani, and essentially an investigation into what this plant was ensued. Now, the Jesuits, which were the religious arm of Spain, charged with reforming and quote-unquote civilizing the Guarani, they arrived in their territories at the end of the 16th century. Now, their purpose there was multi-pronged. One purpose was to send back money, essentially, to the Spanish colony, to enrich the Spanish colony with production and labor, which would produce capital coming out of these missions or churches that they were establishing in the area. The Guarani people were essentially put in slavery. They were forced to work. They were forced to make instruments for the colony, violins, and they were forced to make flutes, and they were forced to farm, and life wasn't very easy for the Guarani during this time. 1600s through 1700s. Now, in the beginning of the 1600s, mate was actually outlawed. The Jesuits noticed that the mate was being consumed all day long by the Guarani tribe. No matter how hard they worked, no matter how tired they were, the mate seemed to sustain the Guarani tribe. The mate seemed to keep them cheery and uplifted. And due to ignorance and fear, the Jesuits, not knowing the power of yerba mate, had it outlawed and had it banned. But it wasn't too long after that the Jesuits became the first group of people ever in the world to begin cultivating yerba mate on a commercial scale. They not only legalized yerba mate, but they found out the deeply guarded secret of growing yerba mate, which was using the seeds that had been pre-digested from the toucan bird. Once the Jesuits found out this secret, coupled with their newfound understanding of mate's ability to clarify the mind, to energize the body, to offer all sorts of nutrients to the body, and to essentially keep you going without any crashing or jittery effects. Once they found out the magic of yerba mate, they begun to establish commercial trade routes from central areas of Paraguay, Asunción, which was the capital of Paraguay, all the way down to Buenos Aires across the Rio Plata River. Now, this was crucial for yerba mate development and yerba mate production. It served to enrich the coffers of the Spanish colony. A lot of money, we're talking in the millions of dollars, was being transferred back to the colony as a sort of tax for allowing the Jesuits to essentially capitalize on the Guarani civilization. This allowed mate to, for the first time ever, enter high-class society. We now had people in Europe and Europeans that had settled in South American colonies now enjoying mate, sometimes with tea, sometimes with fine utensils, fine gold and silver spoons, fine china. We now see mate just beginning to enter the mainstream. However, in a twisted turn of fate, in 1767, the Jesuits were expelled by Carlos III. They were expelled because they were being blamed for not sending money back home to Spain, for enriching their own pockets at the hand of the Guarani. And the Paraguayan epicenter of yerba mate during the time was able to produce such a high volume of mate that they were able to sell more mate for a lower price than other colonies were doing at the time. After the Jesuit expulsion in 1767, the mate plantations were abandoned, and the aftermath left the Guarani civilization totally uprooted in a state of dismay. 1800s. The Gauchos were the cowboys of South America. They tended to cattle and spent long days traveling on horseback. At night, around a campfire, Gauchos would enjoy the time spent together, sharing in good stories, sharing in good food, and most of all, preparing the traditional drink of yerba mate with a gourd and a bombilla. And the server would take his time and prepare the mate properly, drink the first couple cycles, then pass the mate on to the other gauchos in the circle. But mate wasn't always associated with happiness and peace and tranquility. The Paraguayan War, which began in 1864 and lasted up until the 1876 agreement, during this war, it is estimated that 60 to 90% of the male Paraguayan population was killed. The Brazilian army, out of rations and out of food, survived solely on yerba mate for 3 weeks. Now, after this Paraguayan War, which was Paraguay's upheaval to extend their territory, but essentially backfired, and Brazil and Argentina and Uruguay teamed up together to sort of push Paraguay back into a corner and to destroy their forces, and as a result destroy their yerba mate production and have a deleterious effect on their entire economy. After the Paraguayan War, the mate industry was decimated. It was brought to a standstill. By 1876, between Argentina and Paraguay, large swaths of critical farmland was annexed. Argentina took over 54,000 square miles of land, which is now known as the Misiones region of northern Argentina. Brazil enlarged its Mato Grosso state by claiming land that had been in dispute with Paraguay even before the war. That region, Mato Grosso, is very similar to the Misiones region of northern Argentina. Both regions across Argentina and southern Brazil are now critical territories for growing some of the finest quality yerba mate in the world. Between Argentina and Brazil, a new groundwork was being laid for mate's resurgence. By 1899, in the United States, the International Commercial Congress, under the auspices of the Philadelphia Commercial Museum, hosted a very important conference of delegates from around the world, businessmen and entrepreneurs from around the world, and various important people in the commercial industry of trade and import and export came together to talk about various forming industries throughout the world. During this 1899 Commercial Congress, the subject of yerba mate was brought up. Accounts of yerba mate's efficacy of being a perfect drink to fight off alcoholism, to being a very powerful herbal remedy. Mate at this Congress meeting was positioned as a very powerful dietary supplement for the well-being of the mind and body. 1900s. The Yerba Mate Tea Company, which was the first United States yerba mate company tasked with spreading yerba mate throughout the country and also spreading yerba mate throughout Canada. This company was the first of its kind, based in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. They helped to evangelize mate and spread the good word about this powerful herb throughout the country. This also happened around the same time when there was an influx of European immigrants in the Misiones region of northern Argentina. These immigrants were responsible for helping to reestablish yerba mate plantations. These countries became the most important mate producing countries in the world simply because mate was only produced in these countries, which still remains the case to this day. The mate industry again was being revitalized and reignited for new growth and prosperity. Yerba mate evangelists all throughout the United States and Europe and other places in the world were popping up to speak about mate in a way that no one has ever done before. These people were various notables, scientists, chemists, and botanists, many of whom had already visited South America and experienced yerba mate firsthand. These people were the first wave of foreign pioneers of yerba mate that helped to establish small groups of people who would pass on the tradition of sharing yerba mate in a small family-like circle. However, mate was eclipsed by the coffee and tea industry that was growing at a faster rate. Okay, everyone, now finally on to the 2000s. In the Middle East, notably within the Druze community of southern Lebanon, Syria, and Palestine, the ancient tradition of sitting down and sharing a good mate gourd over conversation has become a new addition to the culture of the region. Syria, being Argentina's largest importer of yerba mate, as well as the largest consumer of mate in the Middle East, is helping to reestablish mate's deep history of friendship and brotherhood in locations that are generally associated with war and conflict. In 2005, the Mate Factory Cafe opened doors in Alay, Lebanon, allowing customers to rent traditional mate gourds. With only a few mate-centric cafes established by leading U.S. yerba mate companies, such as Guayaquil and the Mate Factor, yerba mate establishments are still a long ways off in North America. In Montreal, you'll find the El Almacen Cafe if you're interested in traditional yerba mate. Major health food stores, such as Trader Joe's and the Whole Foods Market, are the largest national distributors of Guayaquil and Eco Tea brands. and it's not uncommon to see mate popping up in coffee houses and tea shops across the country. Now, in 1996, Guayaquil helped to revitalize yerba mate in the United States. They had a truck and drove around the country spreading the traditional community-building aspects of yerba mate. Not too long after that, in 1999, Ecoteas, the second largest yerba mate company in the United States, partnered with a notable yerba mate farm in Argentina, the Kraus family, which helped to further spread yerba mate in the United States. Over the past several years, a renewed interest in yerba mate pharmacology has erupted, with the foremost yerba mate scientist, Elvira de Mejia from University of Illinois. We have opened a new window to yerba mate's broad spectrum of health benefits. As of 2011, we are seeing record-breaking exportation of yerba mate from Argentina and other regions of the Southern Cone. In 2011, the Circle of Drink Yerba Mate community was formed to unite yerba mate enthusiasts across the world. For the first time in yerba mate history, an international group of people from America to Spain to Africa and Israel was taking shape. Over the past several years, Circle of Drink has focused heavily on preserving the traditional preparation of mate, using methods long ago devised by the Guarani. With a calabash gourd, a bombilla, and loose-leaf yerba mate, anyone in the world can experience a mate circle. Those materos, yerba mate people of the world, have come to intuitively understand mate as more than a tea or a drink, but an experience. To open and share yourself with others. To have peace of mind even if it's for only those first few sips of mate around a circle. To dissolve social barriers and transcend race and sex. This is the next evolution of yerba mate. We've not only come full circle since the days those Europeans observed the Guarani sharing mate amongst one another, but we've also extended the circle beyond the Southern Cone, beyond the single plant Ilex paraguariensis, beyond any one person sipping from a gourd or a mug. Yes, the writing is on the wall. The kettle's heating up. And as this millennium continues on, mate will be right there with us. Researchers will continue the fascinating investigation into mate's pharmacology and health benefits, delving deeper into the saponins, chlorogenic acid, and the myriad chemical structures in mate's biology. Every few months we're seeing new research in support of mate's wide spectrum of healing properties. But most of all, mate will continue to inspire us to come together as equals. Mate will continue to heal hearts and minds. Mate will continue to be a metaphor for community and sharing and togetherness. Together, we materos will push forward. Together, we materos will unite the world as one, as equals, and we will use this plant as a placeholder to come together and share ourselves with each other. Even if it's for one moment, even if it's for one sip. My name is Dave Mate from CircleOfDrink.com. It's been a pleasure sharing the history of yerba mate with you. I hope that you embark upon your own mate journey and share a gourd with the next person you meet. Thank you very much. Salud.